Wayne slipped his ATM card into the machine outside the PNC Bank in Toledo, Ohio. The receipt printed slowly. Monthly rental income, $6,200. He folded it carefully and tucked it into his worn Carhartt jacket. His 1999 Chevy S10 sat running in the December cold, rust spreading along the wheel wells. Anyone watching would assume he was struggling. They'd be dead wrong. 5 years ago, Wayne was making $31,000 a year operating a forklift at a distribution center, living paycheck to paycheck. One Friday, two different men gave him completely opposite advice about escaping poverty. One drove a BMW, the other drove a beat-up Ford Ranger. Guess which one was actually rich? But before I tell you what happened, understand this. Most people never escape poverty because they take advice from the wrong people. They listen to those who look successful instead of those who actually are. Truth number 1, the overtime secret. That Friday night, Wayne sat at his sister's dinner table. Her husband Brad, a bank manager making $75,000, lectured him about work-life balance. "You need to work smarter, not harder," Brad said, adjusting his designer watch. "Overtime is for suckers." The next morning, Wayne's truck wouldn't start. Hank, the 61-year-old mechanic at the corner shop, came to look at it. While working under the hood, Hank said something strange. "You know what bought me my first rental property? 18 months of taking every single overtime shift they offered. Christmas, Easter, Super Bowl Sunday. Every single one." Wayne did the math. Time and a half turned his $15 hourly into $22.50. Double time on holidays made it $30. For 18 months, Wayne became a ghost. His friends stopped inviting him out. He missed his nephew's birthday party. But his bank account, it grew by $18,000. Here's what nobody tells you about overtime. It's not just extra money. It's tax-advantaged money if you put it straight into retirement accounts or business expenses. But most people won't even work one extra Saturday, let alone 18 months of them. Truth number 2, the 70-30 rule. This is where Wayne's story gets uncomfortable. Brad drove a $45,000 BMW and lived in a $350,000 house. Hank drove a 20-year-old Ranger and lived in a small ranch home. At the shop, while changing Wayne's alternator, Hank pulled out his phone and showed Wayne something that changed his life. 6 rental properties, all paid off except one. "When I was your age," Hank said, "I lived on 30% of my income. Not 70%, 30. The other 70% went to buying skills and properties, not savings accounts, not stocks, things that pay me to own them." Wayne started that same month. His co-workers thought he'd lost his mind. He moved from his one-bedroom apartment to a studio, sold his PlayStation, cancelled Netflix, HBO, everything except basic phone service. His daily lunch became the same peanut butter sandwich and apple. Every single day. Brad called him crazy. "You're living like you're homeless," he said. But Wayne remembered something Hank told him. Truth number 3, the invisible network. "You want to know who taught me about real estate?" Hank had asked. "Tommy the plumber, Roberta who owns the tire shop, Carl who drives the city bus. Combined, they own 32 rental properties, but nobody knows because they still work regular jobs." This shattered Wayne's understanding of wealth. The richest people he'd been around his whole life were invisible. They wore work boots, not suits. They ate at diners, not restaurants. They drove old trucks, not leased BMWs. Wayne started hanging around the shop after work, not to get his truck fixed, but to listen. These men talked about tax liens, owner financing, wholesale deals, information you'd never hear at Brad's country club. But here's where Wayne almost quit. Truth number 4, the 2-year sacrifice. Month 14 was the breaking point. Wayne hadn't been to a bar in over a year. No dates, no concerts, no weekend trips. His sister worried he was depressed. His mom thought he'd joined a cult. Even Hank warned him. 2 years, son, that's the limit. After 2 years, you either have your first property or you'll burn out. Wayne found it 17 months in. A 2-bedroom house in Old West End. Needed everything. Roof, furnace, plumbing. Listed at $38,000. The owner was behind on taxes, facing foreclosure. Wayne offered $28,000 cash. His entire overtime savings, gone in one wire transfer. Brad practically staged an intervention. "You just threw away your future on a crack house." But Wayne spent the next 7 months learning skills from YouTube and Hank's network. Roofing, basic plumbing, painting. His hands bled, his back screamed. But every Friday, he deposited a $750 rent check. Truth number 5, the first property principle. Hank had told him something crucial. Buy the worst house on the best street you can afford. Everyone else is afraid of work. That's your opportunity. That disaster in Old West End. It sat between two restored Victorians worth $150,000 each. Wayne's tenant, a nurse named Maria, paid on time every month. After a year, Wayne refinanced, pulled out $20,000, and bought another disaster. Same street, same strategy. By year 3, Wayne owned 4 properties. His rental income matched his forklift salary. Brad, still making payments on his BMW, which was now worth half what he owed. But here's the brutal truth that emerged from those 5 years. Wayne discovered that Brad, despite his $75,000 salary and fancy image, had a negative net worth. House mortgage $320,000, car loans $65,000, credit cards $18,000. His monthly payments exceeded Wayne's old annual salary. Meanwhile, Hank retired last year. His 6 properties generate $7,800 monthly. He still works on cars 3 days a week, but only on classics he enjoys. For fun. The pattern became crystal clear. Everyone Wayne knew who looked successful was drowning in debt. Everyone who looked ordinary but owned assets was secretly free. The brutal truth? 99% of people stay poor because they're trying to look like Brad instead of live like Hank. They finance their image instead of funding their freedom. They take advice from people in debt instead of people with deeds. They choose comfort today over liberation tomorrow. Last week, Wayne's nephew asked him for advice. The kid makes $28,000 at Amazon. Wayne told him exactly what Hank told him. You can look middle class and stay poor, or look poor and become rich. There's no third option. His nephew looked at Wayne's old truck, his thrift store jacket, his flip phone, and said what 99% say, I don't want to live like that. Wayne pulled out his phone, showed him the same thing Hank once showed him. 6 properties now, $6,200 monthly, free and clear in 8 more years. You don't have to live like this forever, Wayne said, just long enough to never have to again. The brutal truth about escaping poverty isn't that people can't, it's that they won't. They won't take every overtime shift, won't live on 30% of their income, won't learn from invisible mentors, won't sacrifice 2 years of fun, won't buy the ugly house on the good street. They'd rather look successful and stay broke than look broke and become successful. The choice is that simple, and that brutal. Brad makes $75,000 but has $400,000 in debt. Hank made $45,000 but owns 6 houses free and clear. Who would you rather be? Type Brad or Hank below and tell me why. 1 sentence. Sometimes admitting who you're currently copying is the first step to changing it.